Welcome to the Health by Haven podcast. I'm your host, Haven Quinlan. If you're a multi-passionate wellness enthusiast, then you're in the right place. I'm obsessed with learning as much as I can about the wellness world, and I want to share that with you. Each episode will dive into various aspects of health and wellness through inspiring and informative guest interviews with some solo episodes thrown in. Tune in for all things health, and let's have some fun, shall we? As a professional dancer in New York City, Meghan spent years auditioning against girls who looked exactly like her. They competed for one spot to fit that one costume to stand out the most. Meghan wanted to stop working against her competitors and start building a community where everyone deserves the lead role. She created her online fitness platform, Glisten, to do just that. Her community means moving with confidence, having fun, getting strong, and leaving each class feeling empowered. Meghan, it's such a joy to have you on the Health by Haven podcast today. I love that you've built a community centered around finding joy in movement. So can we start by going way back? Is movement something that's always brought you joy, something that you've always been passionate about?
Yeah, I have been dancing and moving literally since I was born, since I can remember. You know, those super old home videos that you go back and watch? Like all of mine are just me with my little pink boombox dancing and putting on shows for my parents or like anyone that would watch me since I was like 2, 3, 4 years old. So I have always just loved moving and dancing, and I did studio dance classes. You know, I feel like we all kind of grow up, excuse me, taking ballet and jazz and all of that. And I just loved the way that it made me feel. And I loved that childlike feeling almost before you realize that people judge you, before you compare yourself to others, before you have confidence issues as you get older, like that just childlike feeling of I am moving with joy. I love, love, love that. And I've always wanted to keep it throughout my life. So that's kind of what Glisten's all about.
Amazing. And so many people now think about exercise as like a chore. And so I just love that you're finding the fun in movement for sure. Do you remember like going to your very first dance class?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I was at the same studio for 18 years. And I remember my very first time, I was 2. So that's my, like, one of my earliest memories. I would actually wear my Tinkerbell costume to class.
Oh my gosh.
And I didn't really like ballet so much because it was more like strict. You had to stand at the bar, but I loved the jazz classes and the creative movement classes. So yeah, those were some of my first memories. I grew up in upstate New York and I went to a dance studio. I started doing competition dancing when I was 2. So I would basically go to the studio when I was 2, 3, 4, you know, it's like twice a week. And then I started going up till I was a senior in high school. I would go 5 days a week. I ended up teaching at my studio, and it was such a great, not only disciplinary place where you have to get your schoolwork done so that you can go dance, but also a place to build community, a place to build confidence, and a place where I really grew in my dancing too.
That sounds incredible. And I'm sure a bunch of your friendships came from there as well.
Absolutely.
Always fun to move with people. So that's amazing. So did you from there, I mean, it sounds like you grew up all through school dancing. Did you get to continue on with that after you graduated high school?
Yeah. It was always my dream to, you know, when you're a little girl, I'm like, I want to be a professional dancer. So as I got older and into high school, I was like, I definitely want to major in dance in college. So I would get there's this magazine called Dance Magazine or Dance Spirit Magazine. And in the back of the magazine, they had all the list of colleges that had dance programs. So I
Oh,
remember, I feel like they don't do that anymore, but in
yeah.
the when you would like take a highlighter and highlight your favorite things in the magazine, I would highlight all of these colleges that I was like, I would go to their website and be like, oh, I love this. I love this. And I applied to all of these dance schools. I went to go audition, some more conservatory dance schools and others more open universities where I could study dance and another subject. So I ended up going to Temple University in Philly because I was able to double major. So I majored in dance and I also majored in broadcast journalism. And that was really great because I did want to have a backup. You know, injuries are always they can always happen. And I loved doing broadcast journalism, and I wanted to also kind of be a news reporter on the side. I loved all of that. So I was able to double major in school and still be in a city where the arts were very prevalent in Philly too.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't spent a ton of time in Philly, but the time I have spent there, it definitely seems like, a hustling city. There's like design schools and things. So I'm sure probably a lot of creative outlets as well.
Yeah, it was so much fun. And Philly's like a smaller version of New York, so I all or New York City. So I always knew I wanted to end up in New York City as a dancer, but this was a great stepping stone, and I was able to study, get the whole college experience, and then go off to New York City after that.
Okay, so fun. So I was on my college dance team, but that's like a little bit different than studying dance like in class. So for some of us who might not be familiar, like tell us what that was like.
Yeah, literally. It's so crazy. It's like I was obsessed with the movie Step Up growing up, and I wanted to be
Yeah.
Laura. Like in dance class, you go into the school and she's like doing a combo across the floor. Like that's what it was, which
Oh my
was
gosh.
so fun because your subjects as a dance major are like, so ballet was every day, 8 a.m. All the classes are 90 minutes. So I had ballet, then modern. We studied African dance at my college, which was really cool. We got to study we had to do background of dance backstage. So we had a lighting class, we had a production class, we had choreography classes. So basically, my schedule was a bunch of dancing and then learning about dance and learning about anatomy. We had some science classes, which was great. And then we had, shows once a semester where you could choreograph with your friends. And it was just, such a great time for those that love dance. It's like, where else do you want to be but in the studio? So it was really fun. Yeah.
Sounds like you were living your dream, which is
Yeah. It was the
amazing.
best time. Yeah.
Yeah. And how cool that it was like so well rounded that you got to learn about all the staging and create your own things, not only do other people's choreography. That's really cool.
Yeah, and it did give me appreciation too, and this carries into my career of people in production and people on the back end like are just as important as the performers, and it really gave me such credit to those people. And now when I do work, I'm like, we appreciate the backstage crew, we appreciate the lighting, like they are just as important. So it was really cool to also have those jobs as well.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so tell me a little bit more about broadcast journalism then. I think that sounds so fun, and it probably does play a little bit into what you do. And I guess I probably should have started with you diving a little bit more into Glisten and your brand and everything. So I know I've just asked you like three questions at once, but but
No,
maybe
yeah.
like how that has lended itself to what you do today.
Totally. Yeah. Well, everything we're talking about is leading up to how I started Glisten. So this is perfect. But I loved broadcast journalism because I love public speaking, which I know some people don't, but I just always really enjoyed talking with people. I was involved in like in high school, the student senate and running the homecoming dances and student council and all that. I gave my graduation speech in my high school. So I was always just like, I was into that. And broadcast journalism, I always loved Erin Andrews when watching ESPN. I was like, I
Uh-huh.
want to be Erin Andrews and also a dancer. And
Yes.
so I kind of just followed that. And journalism school was fun. It was so interesting because I had dance classes all the time. So I would dress in my leotard and I would ride my bike to dance class. And then I would have to ride across campus, like in my ballet outfit, but like sweats pulled over to my journalism law class where it's like no dancers. And everyone's like, what is this girl doing? But I love the hustle and grind. And like I've always loved being busy and learning and interacting with people. So that was really fun. And then yeah, we got more into broadcast as my senior year progressed. We would do like projects where we would go out into Philly and interview people.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
and that actually led to my move to New York City because I got a job interning at Dance Magazine, which
Oh,
if I hadn't double majored and I hadn't had that journalism experience, I maybe would not have got that in. So I'm actually really happy that I always tell people follow what you're passionate about, even if it's like two random different things. Go
yeah.
with those things because it will somehow connect, or you will create a job for yourself where it can connect. And that's really what happened to me. I got to move to New York and intern with Dance Magazine, which was great because it got myself into New York City.
I mean, what a full circle experience. If you were looking at those magazines as a kid and like
Yes.
circling colleges and then to go and work there, what was that like?
Yeah, it was great. It was a great learning experience because that was my first time where I was sitting at a desk 9 to 5 because,
Mm-hmm.
you're in a magazine kind of office building. And while I loved writing, I felt myself being so antsy in the chair. I was like, oh
Yeah.
my God, this is what not corporate, but any really desk job is like. And it taught me some great lessons because I'm like, I love this like 2 days a week, but not on my daily.
Yeah.
So, great connections were built. I got to improve my writing and meet a lot of really cool people. But ultimately, it led me to say, hey, Megan, let's go for dance and performing because that's what you love. And you could always come back to journalism. But it ultimately led me to training more, auditioning more, and dancing more, which was my goal.
Yeah. And I mean, the perfect place, New York City. I spent the summer there this summer and it's just unlike anything else.
Yeah.
And it's definitely, you feel like you're in a fitness focused community, an arts focused community, which is so incredible. So, how did you go from like, okay, the desk job isn't for me to like be able to figure out where to even start auditioning for things?
Yeah. So back then, I don't know if this is still a thing for you dancers listening, but backstage.com was this place where you could go and find dance jobs.
Uh-huh.
So I had finished my internship with Dance Magazine, and I was basically just like, okay, let's audition, let's go to dance classes, let's meet people. Because
Hmm.
another huge thing, especially as social media gets so big nowadays, we forget that those in-person are so super important.
Taking a quick break from today's episode to talk all about marketing. Do you struggle to build a community on social media? Do you post day after day without seeing a return on your investment? Or maybe you don't even know what to post at all? Well, what if I told you I know something, or someone rather, that could help? Seamly and Spruce Creative Co. has helped countless small businesses and entrepreneurs grow their online presences and brands with the help of expertly written and customized social strategies. They can help you dial in your target market, expand your reach, boost your engagement, and have clarity around what to post on your social media page. With an extensive portfolio of proven success with their clients, you know you can trust them with your investment. If you want to learn more, follow Seamly and Spruce Creative Co. on Instagram for tons of free tips and tricks, and use the link in their bio for a free discovery call to help you get on track. You can even hear from their founder in episode 10 of this podcast. Now back to the show.
So I would ask dancers to grab a coffee with me. I would go to certain classes where I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this choreographer. I want to get kind of an in, or I want to get to know this person. So I just filled my schedule with dance classes. I did a little work study job at the front desk of Broadway Dance Center, which was one of the studios I trained at. So then I got free classes.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
and I just started collaborating and working with friends. There were a ton of shows that you could do. In New York, it's so fun because you really can create your own everything. So I had a friend
Hmm.
who created his own show, and every kind of semester or quarter we would do different routines. And so I would go with my friends to the studio, we would create a routine. And so that was really, really great getting myself into the scene. Then auditions came, like Broadway auditions, and I learned big time what it was really like to audition because I had always like heard of it, but I didn't really
Hmm.
know what it entailed. And
Yeah.
it's crazy. Broadway auditions are crazy. You write your name if you are not part of the union or if you don't have an agent, which I didn't when I was
Hmm.
brand new to New York. You wake up at 5 a.m., you write your name on a list, and the list could be super, super long. It's just a random list of dancers' names. And that's like the list to get in if they're even seeing more people after they see all of the dancers with agents, all of the dancers in the union. So it's kind of like hit or miss. And you're waking up
Yeah.
at 5 a.m. to wait in line, get on the list. Then, once you're maybe considered, they bring everyone in a room where you wait for like 4 or 5 hours. Then maybe you get seen and you have to try to stay warm and you have to get your hair and makeup done and you have to bring
Yeah.
outfits. And then if you get into the room where they're going to see you, sometimes they just have you walk across the stage and you're either given a number or you're not.
Oh my goodness.
And so that whole process, I auditioned for about 3 years and I got a few fun jobs, but the overwhelming feeling was like, this sucks. This is
Yeah.
not fun. This is my whole day. I'm not getting paid to do this. I
Yeah.
have to find other side hustles to support me. I'm really feeling low in body confidence and in confidence in myself because I'm comparing myself to other dancers. Not that any of the dancers were mean at all. I had a great community of girls, but it really just does get to you at the end of the day because you're
Mm-hmm.
in a room sometimes with girls that all look exactly like you. So
Mm-hmm.
how can you not compare yourself to this girly and that girly next to you when you're fighting basically for your life, for one spot, for one job? And that's basically what you said in the intro was like, I love dancing and performing and that feeling. But what I didn't like about the dance industry was that we're all competing to fit in that one outfit. We're all competing to fit in that one spot. We're all competing to stand in the spotlight when we all deserve to stand in the spotlight. So that's after auditioning and dancing for years and years, something started in my head to just be like, hey, how can I continue to dance, but also have it be in a stress-free, non-judgmental, fun space because girls have to be, or anyone, dancers, people have to be feeling the same way I do, where you wake up and you're like, I don't feel confident. Like, why is that? I used to feel confident. Like, how can I get back to that feeling? So that's kind of when the wheels started to turn, where I was like, hey, I don't know about this whole audition thing.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think anybody in that grind every single day where you're getting probably way more rejections than roles would start to question everything. And I'm sure it's not just that industry. I mean, dance industry certainly, but I'm sure that there are people listening who maybe aren't in a creative field at all, but they're feeling that way as well of like, why is everything competition? You know, the
Yeah.
phrase of like a rising tide lifts all ships. Like, what can we do to collaborate and make connections and work together? And so that everyone is feeling good each day. So, okay, you have this idea to start something that is less competitive and more about the joy of movement. So from the inception of the idea into
Yeah.
actually starting it, like what steps did you take?
Yeah. So during this whole audition period that I described, I had a few side hustles, and one of them was personal training. And
Mhm.
I was personal training for a dance fitness company. So it was more like low impact dance fitness. And I had never really done that before. And I was like, hey, this is pretty fun. And again, I'm finding that feeling of like, this is a non-judgmental space. I'm not auditioning. I don't have to feel like I'm comparing myself. And from there, over the years, I started to go to the gym and I would do these like 7 day free. I had no money. I would do the Planet Fitness 7 day, like every Planet Fitness, every Crunch Fitness in the city. And in my spare time, I found myself creating what would become Glisten, all of these fun dance inspired sequences. I would throw my headphones on, and that was my safe space. Like, that was my safe. So I was like, I freaking love this. I had my notebook out, I was filming myself, I was doing different ideas. And after yeah, 3-ish years of personal training, I actually got a big dance job working on In the Heights, if you've ever seen that movie. And I worked on it for 6 months and I had to
Wow.
stop doing fitness, stop doing my other dancing, and just work on this movie. And that was
Yeah.
kind of my make or break time where I was like, okay, Megan, you're either going to continue down dancing, movies, like all of this is what you always wanted, or you're going to decide, let's break off and do that. And so I'm really glad I had that moment because it did
Hmm.
give me a chance to really look at everything and be like, you made it here. You have these connections now with agents. You have these, dance opportunities, but how are you feeling on the inside? And my overall feeling on the inside was like, after this job, I'm gonna start my own thing.
Yeah.
I started, it originally was called City Sweat because you're in the city, sweating in the city.
Yeah.
And it's evolved over the past, it's almost been 5 years to Glisten. But that word glisten is something that I did think of when I was filming that movie in, I think it was early 2019. And I was just sitting in my apartment in New York City trying to think of a name that describes the feeling that I'm feeling when I'm doing dance fitness, when I'm feeling strong and confident, when I'm feeling like I can show my unique qualities and stand in my own spotlight and everything that I talk about through my brand. And I texted my now husband. I was like, listen, I was like, that's it. This is
Yes.
like, it's just called Glisten. And I actually started a Glisten newsletter.
Oh,
So that was
fun.
my first, I had City Sweat as my business name, and I started the Glisten newsletter, which was a weekly newsletter that had playlists. I was teaching free classes around New York City. That was kind of how I got started. I would invite all my dance friends, come take class, and kind of started the train of Glisten, started doing some events. This was back in 2019 when really like 2016 to 2019 was like all of the fitness classes popped up, like Rumble,
Mm-hmm.
Aries, group fitness was it. So I really tried to latch onto that and tried to do some group fitness classes, again, all free. I wasn't really making any money from it at the time, because
Mm-hmm.
I just really wanted to get people on board and get people to
Yeah.
love it. And I was doing like some focus groups, asking my dance friends, can you come? Can you let me know what you like, what you don't like? And that really was the start up until COVID hit, which is so crazy. So I was not really making money. I was kind of doing this business, hoping
Mm-hmm.
in the future to maybe open a studio in New York or
Yeah.
that. I was not thinking about moving. I would eventually move to New Hampshire, which is crazy. I was never ever in my life thinking that this would turn virtual or that this would turn into what it is, because back in 2019 we were like, okay, fitness, New
Yeah.
York, I'm going to be a dancer, I'm going to have City Sweat, like this is the dream. And it quickly flipped in March 2020
Yeah.
and readjust.
Yeah. Okay, wow. So many things I want to
So
talk
much,
about from that.
so
So,
much.
so first of all, when you were teaching these like in-person fitness classes in New York, like where? How did you figure out like, hey, I want to just have this random pop-up class and like you probably don't know me or my fitness class, but I promise it's gonna be good. Like that hustle of like starting something.
Yeah. So what was so great is that, excuse me, as a dancer, we could actually rent studio spaces out. There's a ton of studios in the city. One studio space is called Ripley Greer, and there's three different buildings around the city, and they have like tons of studios. So I
Yeah.
was already used to booking space with them because
Mm-hmm.
we would book our own rehearsals as dancers. So I used that space a lot. There's actually, it's if I think, I guess you have to be like in as a dancer, you would know that there's so many spaces, which people don't realize. But
Yeah.
if anyone ever did need a space, you have to go on peerspace.com. There's so many spaces you can literally rent out like anything from a photo studio to a video studio. So I would just do that. I would spend my own money. I would book a space. And then eventually wanting to get in with the fitness people, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
and out of the dance studio, I did a day. I remember it was a freezing cold day in December. I made my little flyers at the FedEx shop of like
Yeah.
flat, hit, whatever, dance cardio. And I walked down Fifth Avenue and just went to each store, Nike, Reebok, Free People, Lululemon, and I just did a little spiel, did a little pitch, and was like, I would love to teach a class in your store because that was
Yeah.
back when those pop-ups were kind of starting. I
Mm-hmm.
did one at like Sweaty Betty back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
I did one at a Naked Soho Project by Equinox. There are all these places which times have changed now, but back then people were open to being like, hey, sure, you can teach a
Yeah.
class in here. So I started doing that. And then my very first official City Sweat class was at Lululemon. They
Mm-hmm.
have a beautiful studio on Fifth Avenue. over top of their store. And
Hmm.
they still have it there. I wonder if they still do classes, but that was my first, and it was a gorgeous spot. And I was like, okay, this is like the spot. So I started
Yeah.
classes there. Again, just kind of like pop-ups.
Yeah.
At the time before March of 2020, I was doing that.
Yeah. How fun. And what a cool thing to like look at your life and be like, oh my gosh, like look what I've built. This is Fifth Avenue, New York City. So,
Yeah.
so fun. Okay. And then like timing is crazy. It sounds like you had already kind of started this foundation in 2019. And then obviously we all know COVID happened in early 2020. And so how did that change what you were working on?
Yeah. So COVID happened. We didn't really know what it would be. I'm from upstate New York. So at the time, New York City, there was that one day where it was like, New York City's closing, the trains are closing, everything's closing. So
Yeah.
I took, like the last train. Everyone's like, it's the
Yeah.
last train. I like took it back up home, and I only had this job. I had quit my other side hustles. So like I wasn't really making money. I was just trying to build what,
Hmm.
City Sweat was. So I told myself I can't stop. I have
Yeah.
to keep going. So I just resorted to Instagram Live. I had like a small dance Instagram at the time, but I was really starting to promote City Sweat stuff. And I'll just call it Glisten for now because that's what.
Yeah.
So I was starting to promote Glisten things, and I just thought, let's do an Instagram Live. So I showed up, did an Instagram Live, and then so funny how it ties back to journalism. A good friend of mine from my journalism class at college reached out to me, and she was like, hey, Megan, I work for Good Morning America, and we're doing a segment on at-home workouts during this weird time. Do you want to be in it? Like, do you want to
Ugh.
send a little video of your workouts? And I was like, yes. So I sent her a video. It was so funny. Me and my two friends from home like set up this janky video, like in my house, like doing fun jumping jacks or whatever. Sent it over to her. And that was kind of thank you to Zoe, because that was kind of my boost. Like, I need that. I'm going to do this. I can do this and I will do this. And so from there, I committed. I came on stories or whatever it was at that time. And I was just like, hey, we don't know what this is, but I'm going to continue to bring you joy of movement. Let's do a 30-day challenge, Instagram Live every single day for free. I'm going to post a class. We're going to show up same time every day. I started posting the schedule. I started making merch. I started like an ambassador program. Like I was just from there, the wheels, I had all the time in the world. And
Yeah.
I was so passionate about it. And so the wheels just kept turning and turning. And any chance I could to connect with people through the screen and bring that same feeling of glisten, I would.
Some of you may not know this, but I studied interior design and architecture in college. And while it may seem unrelated to health and wellness at face value, I truly believe so much of our mental health and stress is positively or negatively impacted by our environment. A cluttered space is a cluttered mind, and I take great pride and care in designing my home with carefully selected pieces so that I feel fully safe and relaxed in my own little sanctuary each night. That brings me to Arranger Paints, an Etsy shop featuring stunning paintings of nature and intriguing pieces that shed light on the beauty of ordinary life. Steve, the artist, is a recently retired U.S. park ranger. From Peace Corps volunteer in Guatemala to national park ranger in some of our nation's most beautiful national parks, Steve draws inspiration from the world around us. Since he began painting in 2018, he's learned to see the world through a new lens, and gosh, does it show through in his artwork. I've gifted his paintings, and his paintings hang in my home. My personal favorite is a series of 5 sea life paintings that hang in my entryway, welcoming guests into my little loft. His paintings vary from stretched or unstretched canvas to wood panels and canvas board. He mostly works with oil paints, but occasionally chooses acrylics or watercolors. I cannot recommend the quality enough and what it means to have original artwork featured in my home, where I relax in the evenings, play with my puppy, share meals with loved ones, and even get a little too competitive on a game night. So if you're looking for that personal touch to bring new life to your space, be sure to check out Arranger Paints on Etsy. You can find the collection of work at arrangerpaints.etsy.com. And as a special thank you for supporting the Health by Haven podcast, you can get 10% off your order with code HXH10 in all caps. I know you're going to love the artwork. Thank you so much for supporting this small business.
So I really worked on that for months and months into COVID, ended up moving to New Hampshire, which is crazy because my husband worked up there. He was my boyfriend at the time. And I was like, yeah, I can live there for a few months and do
Yeah.
and I was like, but when this is all over, like I'm going back to New York City. Like,
Yeah.
so kept building, eventually built an app and kept growing and growing, and then spent years online doing Glisten. And also, once things opened up a little more, spent years doing pop-up classes to see all the Glisteners that I had met online. We did Austin, we did Denver, New York City, Miami, LA. Like it has been so, so, so much fun and such an evolvement. That's kind of a long story short, but yeah, that's kind of how we got the ball rolling with that.
Wow. Well, I think COVID was definitely a time for a lot of people to kind of reevaluate whether it was on their own terms or like a lot of people getting laid off of like, okay, is this actually what I want to be doing? And I mean, none of us could go anywhere or see anyone. So you're right. You did have all the time in the world to really like focus in and work on things. And I mean, that's when I started my Health by Haven website as well. And I went back and studied nutrition and everything. And so I can certainly relate to that. It's lucky that, you know, you had that foundation, and then sounds like a great boost from your friend for that Good Morning America to be like, okay, yes, like this is challenging, but this is like what I want to be doing. So cool. Also, like you're bringing back memories for me. I was living in Columbia, South Carolina at the time. My husband and I just bought a house, but like we, you know, couldn't go anywhere. And I cannot for the life of me remember like how I found your account on Instagram, but I've followed you that long, and I remember getting on like Instagram Live or whatever and doing those workouts in our guest room. So it's like really
Oh
bringing
my
it back.
God.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, those were such OG times. Isn't it
Yeah.
crazy? Like it's been so long, so it's cool to see, like we said, growth and evolvement, not only of a business, but of us as people. And
Yeah.
so I'm always kind of sharing that with the listeners too, is that it's okay to change, it's okay to evolve, and like look how far you've come, even from yesterday, even from last week, even from 5 years ago. It's like a constant shift, and it's really, really cool to see, to celebrate the small wins and see where we've come from, because that was a crazy
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously, like back then, you're just getting started. I mean, I have no clue like how large your community was or how you were getting the word out, besides like it sounds like a lot of your dance friends or people who you had been personal training and everything. But from like going from Instagram to building the app and all of that, and like now your community has grown so tremendously. So talk to us about like what that was like, I guess.
Yeah. It is daily work. Like, I can't stress it enough. It's been years and years of daily work, and it's always just about coming back to my why and remembering on the hard days why I'm showing up. A lot of it has been online because that was my main way over in 20 back in 2020 when I was building up what I have now, to reach people. So it was through newsletters, it was through giveaways, it was through the Instagram lives. It was through talking to people, having that ambassador program. And then those pop-ups were really great. I did a lot of pop-ups in 2021, like right when we were kind of allowed to do things outside. And that was
Hmm.
really nice because I was able to meet people from all over the country, really, and connect with them on a deeper level. From there, I feel like Instagram Reels started getting bigger. And
Hmm.
I said, I'm going to post every single day forever until I grow. And I did. And I would, on days I didn't want to, I lived in New Hampshire. I sometimes felt like I'm missing out on the New York things. Like, why am I
Hmm.
here? And I would take my tripod to New Hampshire fields or like somewhere random with cute sunlight and bring a bunch of outfits and dance and do my workouts and share content. And I did that, believe it or not, every day for 4 years before I saw growth on my page.
Wow.
So, for those of you
Yeah.
who are feeling discouraged, it is not like overnight. It is not luck. It's some of it, I guess, is right place, right time. But if you want something, you can do it. You have to commit to it and you have to be passionate about it. And on the hard days, you have to remember why you started. Because for me, I lived in New Hampshire for 3.5 years and I grinded every day to post content, to show up for my community, to teach. And I still love it and I still struggle. Just because you get a bigger community doesn't mean that you don't have struggles anymore. I still struggle with showing up some days and with like, what am I doing? And do people like this? And am I good enough? And that's always going to be there. But if you always just come back to this is my life. This is what I want to build for myself. And this makes me feel like the best version. You know, you're on the right track. So I would just say keep going because it did take me 4 years to really see. I had an awesome small community that I loved dearly. But in order to see a more of a blossoming growth of a community where I'm now able to do more things with my community, it did take 4 years.
Well, that's a great sentiment to anyone trying to build anything, whether it's your own business or a side hustle or whatever, that like it's really easy to look at people's like middle and compare it to your beginning and like, why isn't this working? Like, I'm spending so much time and like five people are seeing it or whatever. And it's like, first of all, you don't necessarily need to be an influencer to be like affecting people positively. But also, yeah, the consistency and the dedication, knowing like I'm doing this for a reason is really great.
Yeah, thanks. It's been really fun to
Yeah.
connect with people and have people share stories and share Glisten too. It's been really cool.
Yeah. So obviously, it sounds like you have a really great community and a lot of people you can talk to online, but I'm just wondering, like, as somebody like an entrepreneur for themselves, is it ever lonely? Like, how do you find that motivation on the days where you're like, "Ugh, I just like don't want to."
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes, it is lonely. And that's a great question because I feel like some people think, oh my gosh, your life is whatever because you're just like posting and working out but we are human beings. We're meant to interact with people. I grew up dancing and like dancers are very hands-on, hugging, partnering, like having fun together, really always in the studio. So I went from that to then working alone. And that was very lonely. Still, I do have very lonely days. So my advice would be to break up your day. Sometimes I go to a coffee shop. Sometimes I hang out with a friend. I get to do a walk and a phone call. I try to connect with other entrepreneurs. And then B is to go to these in-person fitness classes. I'm hoping to do more Glisten in person, but sometimes I go to a bar class. Sometimes I go to a class at the gym with my friend. It's really important to get that in-person fulfillment. Um, and so when I was in New Hampshire, I taught at a studio in person, which really filled my cup. And I was able to go home and then work alone because I had this studio. Shout out the Collective Studios if you live in New Hampshire, Boston area. Amazing girlies over there. I taught cycle, I taught a Pilates class, I taught a dance cardio class, and that filled my cup because I was able to do that. So
Hmm.
finding an outlet for yourself. Maybe it has nothing to do with your business. Maybe you go to like a pottery class on Wednesdays and you're like able to hang out with people. It is so important. And I'm still trying to find that balance too, because I do get like sucked into my work in my bubble. And it's really important to go out and have that time. We just recently moved to upstate New York and we're officially staying here. We're buying a house. So
Oh,
yeah,
congratulations.
thank you. So I am super happy because my husband and I met in high school. So we're from the same hometown, very close by to here. So a lot of our best friends are here. My sisters are here. My family is here. And that has made such a big difference from
Yeah.
definitely feeling isolated in New Hampshire to now being able to go out on a walk with my sisters after work and meet up with my friends for dinner. Like the social aspect is so important. So I would say if you are either working remotely or alone or you're just trying to build a business, definitely block out those hours where it's like, okay, this is my work time for two. I like to do 2 hours at a time. Give yourself a break. Go
Mm-hmm.
on a walk, go to a coffee shop, go call a friend, come back, crush 2 hours, go on a walk, go on a break. I also used to do Thursdays if you can make your own schedule. This is, everyone's different. I did Thursdays used to be go at my own pace day.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have nothing on my calendar, but I would have a list, and my list was like, here's my to-do list. No pressure, Megan. If you do it, cool. If you don't get to anything today, this is a go at your own pace day. Usually, I got even more done off my to-do list because there was no pressure. And I
Yeah.
was like, this is actually fun. So giving yourself these little games, I know it's like so silly, but giving yourself these little games and tricks to help you get through is really, really important because those days actually help me be more productive and like reignite the love for my business.
That's such great advice. I kind of love that. Go at your own pace, Jay. Because, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, you can feel like, oh, you're like tied to your to-do list sometimes. As far as like the working by yourself and finding community and everything, I mean, it sounds like that fitness studio was a great place for an outlet, but when you're like building a website or building an app or something you've never done before, I mean, have you found people maybe that you don't know personally, but in a similar situation that could be kind of like guidance or somebody to bounce ideas off of? How did you figure all of that out?
Yeah, I mean, my number one tip really for anyone trying to build anything or looking for someone to help is just put it out into the universe. I have always texted, this goes back to like when I was trying to build a website. I texted a few dance friends who I knew had cute websites, and I was like, who built your site? And then
Yeah.
they connected me with someone else. I put it out on Instagram. Even just the other day, I was like, hey, I want to do more New York City events. Who's down? And I got a ton of new people that just reached out to me that I was like, let's do something. So putting yourself out there, whatever job it may be. For building an app, I had these friends that were amazing, amazing. Arquetta is an awesome outlet for building apps, and they've helped me so much. And then they have friends that they connect me with. I connect a ton with the fitness girlies in my similar space. And like I said, I really don't see them as my competition. They are my love of my lives, my friends. We lift each other up. It is so much fun to talk on the phone about what we're struggling with, about our successes. We're happy for each other. There really is space for everyone, and being able to live like that and live with and everyone like, I'm happy to collaborate, I'm happy to share, I'm happy to come on your podcast. Like that is what it's all about, because at the end of the day, it's going to lift up everyone else. So I think just putting yourself out there and let the people know what you need, and
Yeah.
like send a text, send a call, send a LinkedIn message. You don't know how many LinkedIn messages I've sent just on deep dives, cold
Yeah.
emails, cold DMs. Um, it's definitely not a traditional path like as an entrepreneur, but if you have the drive to do it, like you will figure it out. And there are resources and people that are willing to help you for sure.
Yeah, more and more about community and finding the friend of a friend of a friend. Just great advice for any industry, for sure. Okay, I'm very curious about how you go about programming your classes. Like, have you always loved doing choreography, or is this something newer?
Yeah, I've always loved doing choreo and like sequencing. So you'll see on my page or on the Glisten app, I do a lot of like sequences, arm sequences, and I always tell people it's dance inspired. It's not a dance class. So this is for if you're not a dancer, for any level of fitness, there's options to upgrade with weights, downgrade with nothing. But I do love the sequences because it makes it more fun. It's beat based. As a dancer, I've always been beat based.
Mm-hmm.
And I have always, back from my gym days at Planet Fitness, I've always tried to do sequencing that helps really guide and improve long lines, helps sculpt in a low impact way that doesn't hurt my body. Um,
Mm-hmm.
just an example is that like we don't do tuck jumps, lunge jumps, we don't do static planks, we don't do burpees, we don't do any of those traditional hit things that just in my opinion don't feel good for my body. So
Hmm.
I would just go into program. I do this. I try to do it once a week. It's not always once a week, but I'll go either in here in my studio or to the gym and I'll just turn on music and I will just go and I'll either bring a slider, a band. We use sometimes balls, light weights, and I'll just play. And then I have
Hmm.
my notebook and I write it out. And this kind of came from me when I used to choreograph back in my dance days. I would do the same thing. I would turn on music and dance and write it out. And that just kind of works for me. I know it's
Hmm.
everyone's so different with programming workout classes specifically, but because mine is beat based and dance inspired, just kind of going in and creatively being like, okay, I want to tone or work on my low abs. Let's get down on the ground. Let's add an ankle weight. Let's add a long leg, and let's see what we can come up with.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I try to do that and I try to work themes into every class. So maybe it's a morning flow, maybe it's a confidence-based class. We just did a love your body sculpt, which I love. And it's kind of just like how I'm feeling. I hope that other people feel that way too. I'm like,
Yeah.
I need to love my body sculpt today. So if you want it, here it is. So it's really fun to incorporate those themes that don't necessarily have to do with the exact moves, but it's more about the feeling, which I also think is just as important as the workout itself.
Yeah, for sure. What's your favorite? Or maybe it changes. I don't know.
Yeah, okay, it's changed so much. I love Sculpt right now. We have
Yeah.
like a million different sculpts. I'm actually redoing my website and I have to organize my classes and there are like 12 sculpt categories and I'm like, Megan, calm down. Like we have sculpt and stretch, regular sculpt, arms and abs, legs and cheeks, Pilates sculpt, bar. I'm like, girl, stop that too much. But I love sculpt because it's fun. It's all low impact. I used to do a ton of dance cardio and I love dance cardio, but I just everyone's body needs a little break at different times.
Hmm.
And right now I'm just like, I'm not a jumper at the moment. I'm not a cardio
Yeah.
at the moment. Sometimes I love dance strength, which is more, we use like 8 pound, 7, 8 pound weights. But right now I'm a sculpt gal with my ankle weights. I just love like tuning in, tuning onto the mat and just glistening. Like
Yeah. Okay. I'm so glad you said that because I actually was just talking with a friend about like the ebbs and flows of like what you're really into in workouts. And I'm a runner and I've run several marathons, but I'm in a block where I'm not training for anything. And it's honestly been so great because I teach Pure Bar as well. And so now I'm in the bar studio like every day. And that is like feeling so good for my body right now to just work on strength. But like you said, in that like low impact way, which is like complete opposite from running where it's like cardio and you're like hitting the ground. So it's fun. And it's like, it's okay to like change your
as
mind and have something that you're into and then kind of be like, I'm kind of over that and do something else.
it's so important. And like I said, with starting this 5 years ago up to now, I can't, sometimes I expect myself to love the same things. And it's like, no, that's the point of our bodies. I was 25, now I'm 30. Like
Yeah.
everything has changed. And so it's really important to listen to your body on any given day. Be kind. I always say be gentle, be kind, but also be fierce. Like you can really go for it, but also be kind to your body at the same time. And like choose whatever, choose 10 minutes, choose 40 minutes if you want, choose what feels good for you, but just know that movement in general, like whether you're running, you're doing bar, you are getting everything flowing. You are producing endorphins, like you are producing good energy for yourself. So no matter what it is, it's okay that it changes. It's good that it changes. Like we change all the time. We're constantly evolving. So your workout should evolve too.
Yeah, I love it. And this is on a similar vein. So maybe it's the same sentiment, but for people who might be listening who are like in a funk with what they're doing or like struggling to motivate to get up and get moving, like what would your advice be?
Yeah. so hard. Like we all go through that. So first thing would just be to know that everyone goes through that, even regardless of what you see on social media. Everyone's struggling to work out at times. Everyone struggles with motivation. And so you really have to find a few key kind of ticks that work for you, or a few key cues that work for you, that when you're in a rut, you're like, let me go to my list of things that work for me,
Yeah.
because not everything's going to work for everyone. So a few things that personally work for me are music. So really good playlists. I have a bunch of really awesome playlists that is just like one playlist is called Let Me Hype You Up.
Yes.
I made that. Why did I title that? I just like needed it. And so I'll go to that playlist and put it in my headphones, whether I'm dancing or whether I'm just like on a walk, whether I just am sitting on my train ride, being like, yup, okay. I remember why I love music and I love dancing, and I can't wait to go on a walk or a run later. So music is really big. Second thing is scheduling. It's so hard, especially if you're a work from home person, if you're an entrepreneur and you kind of have a flexible schedule. It's been harder for me to find the motivation to work out, because I feel like now I don't have this, but if I have to go into the office, sometimes I might feel like, okay, this is my only window to work out, so I'm gonna do it.
Hmm.
Whereas I have just like, and you probably like, it's just like whatever. And so I need to schedule in my calendar either a live virtual Glisten class with other Glisteners so that we show
Yeah.
together, or a FaceTime with a friend. And we're picking out, like, I love Aloe Moves. I teach on there too. And I love to do their bar classes. So like sometimes I'll do it with my sister and I'm like, you're coming over and we're doing this now.
Yeah.
I just went on date night with my husband to the gym, which is like not, it's very rare. Like we don't do that. Like I'm not one of those girlies. I'm just like, we needed to go and I'm so glad we did. So scheduling out is important. So playlisting, scheduling out. And number three, being okay with change. Like we were saying, being okay with doing something different. Because if you're stuck in a rut and you're like, I really don't want to run right now, I'm not going to. Well, there's so many other options. Open
Yeah.
your mind to it. I had a mentor, a dance mentor, who gave me great advice. And I always think about this. She just said, change your mind about it. And I always say that to myself when I'm just stuck. It's like, change your mind about it. Why are you stuck on running? Like, change your mind about it. Maybe you love sculpt today. You can always change your mind about it. You can, maybe you're a 10-minute workout girl now, like for the next few weeks. And then you decide to change your mind about it and you're a 40-minute strength girl. Like it's always going to change. So being okay with evolving and changing is honestly one of the hardest things I've had to personally like deal with, because it's hard to evolve and to grow as a person, as a business, and but it's also one of the most important things because it does open your mind up to so many new opportunities. So you got this. If you need motivation, you got this. It's okay.
Amazing pep talk. And I love that advice. Just change your mind. It's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now that you've mentioned Aloe Moves, I have to know more.
Okay. So I love Aloe Moves. I love everyone at Aloe. I started teaching sculpt with them in 2023, and just so much fun. They allow me to spread my same joy and my same, Glisten girl vibes. We do a lot of short classes, which are great for like at home on the go, quick sculpts. I do most of the programming is sculpt. We have a few dance strength, a few dance cardio, but it has been really, really fun to interact with other Ella Moves instructors. I got to teach at a fun retreat in Mexico this summer and meet so many Aloe Moves customers and clients. And I can't say enough good things about working with that brand. I've been on other jobs and productions as a dancer that you go and you're like, ooh, okay, I'm not feeling supported or lifted up in the best way. And the people at Aloe Moves are absolutely amazing. I love them so, so dearly. They support me, we uplift each other, and it's a really fun time. So yeah.
Oh, sounds amazing. Okay, I know I'm running up on time. So let's do a couple of rapid fire and then I'll let you go. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Morning or evening workout?
Girl, morning. I hate the evening. I'm over it by 3 p.m.
You and me
Morning.
both. Running or walking?
Walking. I wish I could get into running. I can't.
Lifting or body weight?
Body weight.
Indoor or outdoor workouts?
I love outdoor. I wish I did it more.
Juice or smoothie?
Smoothie.
Coffee or matcha?
Coffee.
Salad or bowl?
Bowl.
Pizza or pasta?
Pizza.
Tacos or quesadillas?
I love tacos.
An early riser or night owl?
Early riser. Always, always.
Oh, amazing. Well, Megan, thank you so much for your time today. I just had the best time chatting with you. I know people are going to learn so much and feel so inspired. So, where can everyone find you? Where can they try your classes? Tell us all the good stuff.
Oh, thank you for having me. This has been so much fun. My handle is at Meghan McFerran on Instagram. I think on everything, TikTok. My website is meganmcferran.com, or you can download the Glisten app and come glisten with us anytime.
Oh, amazing. Well, thanks so much, Megan. Have a good one.
Thank you, Haven.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Health by Haven podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to give the show a 5-star rating and leave a review. It makes such a huge difference in reaching new people and spreading the joy of healthy living. I would also be so appreciative if you subscribe to the show in the listening app of your choice so you never miss an episode. Your support truly means the world to me. Have a happy, healthy day, and I'll talk to you again soon.